Good afternoon, I'm Ronan Shioning and here are your 3:30 sports headlines. Scotland have had their Autumn Nations Cup tie with Fiji postponed on the 28th of November due to a huge outbreak of COVID-19. The Fiji touring camp have been hit with 29 coronavirus cases and have cancelled games against France as well as Italy. England head coach Eddie Jones is wary of the threat that Ireland pose ahead of the crucial Autumn Nations Cup tie at Twickenham on Saturday.
Coming to Twickenham with a point to prove. We chose Mason Dangerous, so it's the most important game of the year for us, and I'm sure for them they're treating it exactly the same way.
Jones has made 4 changes for the clash, with Tom Curry one of the replacements. Solent netball players have found a charitable way to keep active during this lockdown, as Sophie Reynolds reports.
Solent Netball Club would usually be training in this sports complex. However, when the second lockdown was enforced, their training here was stopped. The girls have since decided to run, walk and cycle 1,000 miles to raise money for the charity Mind whilst keeping fit.
2 miles complete.
3.5 miles complete.
Coming on to 3 miles.
Mile 2.
1.5 down.
The club have already completed just under 500 miles and raised over £850 for the mental health charity. Welfare officer Chloe Green believes the players' own mental health is also benefiting.
You know, it's really difficult to actually want to get up and go outside and feel like you know it's going to benefit you, but it's really tough to just want to go. But whereas when you've got like the charity in the back of your head and you know that you're doing it for a good cause, it just like encourages everyone to get outside. And I think that is really important at the moment.
Tia Burrows believes the fundraiser has also brought its challenges.
Sometimes, like, especially when it's raining, or even if it's just been a long day and you haven't had a chance to go out yet, it's just like, it is a challenge to actually get up and go out. But because we have such a great charity that we've picked, it does give us the motivation to get out and get active.
Solent Sport Programme Officer Basha Dudek has been following the girls' fundraiser on Instagram.
I think it's wonderful. It just shows that there's camaraderie between the players. So even though they don't see each other, they're still keeping in contact and having that, that team bonding experience. And for them to raise money for a charity, it's even, it makes me proud.
Even when the girls can return to court, they don't plan to stop fundraising now they have started.
I think we should do more. I think it would be a good idea just because it gets everyone involved, bring everyone together. Like, we're all encouraging each other on the chat, like saying, well done, no matter how much anyone does. So I think we should do more. It'd be fun.
After a long international break, Premier League football is back with some big fixtures this weekend. Our football reporters Jordan Hall and Kelechi Okori are live outside St Mary's Stadium to preview this weekend's games.
Yes, hello. Yes, hello, we're at the St Mary's Stadium here as the Saints travel to Wolves on Monday night. Whilst fans are not allowed back into the stadium so far, our senior reporter Dylan Manufor caught up to date with the public to get their views.
Plans to allow supporters back into stadiums before the end of the year are being considered by the government. The proposals could come into effect at the end of the current national lockdown, which will see a small number of fans attend games under strict restrictions. Here's what the fans have had to say.
So I think what you'd have to do is ensure that fans could safely arrive in the stadium and then be able to go into the actual arena as easily as possible, but perhaps close things like bars and concessions within the stadium concourse area to ensure that people weren't congregating, especially at half time. So put restrictions on where people can go and space people out better. But yeah, I don't really see it as being a big problem.
Brighton's home match against Chelsea back in the summer was the latest in a series of government-approved live sporting events to be trialled in front of spectators as steps are taken to safely welcome fans back into stadiums. And whilst the UK government is exploring the potential of allowing fans to return to football matches before Christmas, some are not so keen.
It would be a great idea, in my opinion, not to let back in. You know, a lot of other places are closed, gyms, concert gigs, all of that is not allowed at all, so it's kind of unfair. But if they absolutely got to do it, then just abide by the rules, don't let in a bunch of crowded people, just a few people in and that's it. If they really need to do it, and that's it. Other than that, no hard feelings against it or anything, so
think at the time it's just too risky. Unless you can separate them by 10 feet, it's like everything else. Wherever they've dropped off the lockdown, right, and I suffer as much as anyone, believe you me, but I'm not a footballer, it goes up. Do you want to kill people or cure it?
Whilst Boris Johnson may be working on a package to get fans back into stadiums before Christmas, a series of questions will follow. Do you want to kill people or do you want to cure it?
Yes, so Southampton won't be playing until Monday night, but before we've got Newcastle versus Chelsea tomorrow morning kickoff. We're with Kelechi Okori. Kelechi, Newcastle have done so decent so far this season, and against Chelsea they've got a good record. They have been dominant at home in recent years against Chelsea, winning all 5 of their last 6 at St James's Park. Kelechi, what do you think about Newcastle this season, and do they stand a chance against Chelsea?
Well, that's the thing. They have a key player missing, Callum Wilson. He's been out injured. It was actually at Southampton he suffered a serious injury, and he is a doubt for this game. We do have more with Steve Bruce on his injury. But regarding Chelsea, Kai Havertz, Thiago Silva and Christian Pulisic are doubtful for this weekend's game. But we will see how far they get on with Ben Chilwell. He suffered a little nibble on his foot, but he might be back in this weekend. We have to wait and see. But Steve Bruce has more on Callum Wilson's injury.
Callum has got a chance to. Obviously, we're going to make sure that if there's any risk whatsoever, then he won't play. But he has trained the last 2 days and was very, very comfortable yesterday. So we'll see how again he is today. But he's the boy wants to play.
Elsewhere, we've got Arsenal versus Leeds versus Arsenal. Apologies. Arsenal have started well so far this season. Or you could say well. They've had a mixed season so far. They've just coming off back of a 3-0 loss though against Aston Villa. Kelechi, what do you make of Mikel Arteta's summer signings so far, and are they gelling?
Yes, they are gelling. I mean, Thomas Partey's only had a couple of games so far, but he suffered a thigh injury in the last game against Aston Villa. So it will be difficult for Arsenal against Leeds. Marco Bielsa, he's a very tactical manager. So he will set up very well against Arteta, cancel out all his attacks. So it'll be a very interesting game. And Patrick Bamford as well, their star striker, he's going to be wanting to score a lot of goals. He's already scored 6 goals in the league. So it will be a very big game for Arteta's team.
And this is what Arteta had to say on Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds side.
That they're going to go full gas like they always do. They had 2 weeks to prepare the game, not as many international as us, and I don't expect them to change too much. They are very loyal to their principles, to the way they play, and they approach every game the same way, which is to win, to be very aggressive with or without the ball, and try to win. It doesn't matter where they play. What I've seen from them in the last seasons is not a concern who they play against. It's more about what they do.
We've also got West Ham versus Sheffield United this weekend. Kelechi, Sheffield United this season. I mean, second season syndrome. They've had an awful start to the season, haven't they?
Yes, they've had an awful start to the season. Chris Wilder doesn't seem to know what he's doing with the team at the moment. They're bottom of the league, struggling for points. But West Ham, they're going to be a very, very strong side against Sheffield United. Say Berrama, their new transfer signing, already got an assist in their last game and will be looking to get more, and he might start his first game of the season.
And what do you make of David Moyes? Because David Moyes, you know, he's been there, done that in the league. You know, he has his critics, but he's done very well, hasn't he, with West Ham?
Yeah, he's done very well. I mean, he's had a few injuries this season as well. A lot of people have been doubting him because of recent seasons like Manchester United, where he didn't do so well. But now, I think he knows what he wants in this team. Players like Declan Rice, Antonio are doing very well in this side, and they could go all the way. They might finish in the top 8. The statistics are showing that they can do well against the big teams. So who knows? We might have a good game.
And this is what David Moyes had to say.
Run of games is what we've had at the start of the season. They've also had a couple of injuries to key players to them at this time. So I'm guessing all that has had a factor, but they've got a really good manager. They've got a good group of players who've been around together for a long time, and that'll make them strong because they'll be able to use that as the season goes on.
Elsewhere, we've got a cracker as well. We've got Tottenham versus Man City this weekend. That's Pep Guardiola versus Jose, and what has been a feisty rivalry over the past, isn't it?
Yeah, Pep Guardiola has won 11 of those games against Jose Mourinho, probably his biggest rival he's ever had to face in his career. Jose Mourinho's only won 6 of those games, but Tottenham are currently at the top of the league, so it's going to be a very interesting game. Bale, he probably won't start in this one. He's still trying to get full match fitness, but Harry Kane and Heung-min Son, they've already had 29 goal contributions and combinations in the league already, so Pep Guardiola will not have an easy time in this match.
Yeah, it's crazy numbers there. And just quickly on Liverpool versus Leicester, that's another big tie this weekend. So we could see quite a few shuffles up at top of the pack. Obviously, Liverpool, all these injuries this season. Have they got any chance against Jamie Vardy?
Well, that's the question. We don't know who's going to come in that defence. Gomez already out injured. We already know Matip is going to be the only one who's going to be able to play there. We did see another new player, Williams, who might come in. And then I'm hearing that Jurgen Klopp has called up 8 academy under-21s to the Liverpool side. So it's going to be a bit of a surprise to who we see. But Jamie Vardy, he's going to have a feast on his hands now up against that Liverpool team, so it's going to be a very interesting one, that's for sure.
Yeah, and of course Leicester have already beaten 2 of the top 6 sides already this season, so yeah, keep your eyes peeled onto that one. And then we're out here at the St Mary's, Saints against Wolves this weekend. Southampton, second of the league right now.
Second of the league is definitely better than what they were doing last season. It was around this time last year in this St Mary's Stadium. Leicester actually beat them 9-0, and look at them now, second in the table. No Danny Ings though, that is the big question. They were saying that they might have him back ahead of schedule, but we don't know if he'll be on the bench or start the game. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens at the stadium, in Molineux Stadium I should say. But James Ward-Prowse, he scored 2 free kicks. He's really bombarding that midfield and doing very well for the team. So yeah, it's going to be a good game for Southampton, I think.
Yeah, so we'll just have to wait until Monday night for that one, so a bit of wait. But yeah, some interesting ties over the weekend. And yeah, it'll be a good weekend of football after the international break. We'll be crossing back to the studio now, so thank you for having us.
Thank you guys, looking forward to a very good weekend of football. And with the news that the government are planning on slowly reintroducing fans back into the football stadiums, our reporter Jamie Perry has spoken to Carl Anker about this possibility.
Probably until we have a vaccine, I'm uneasy by any sort of concept of seeing thousands of people in the same room.
That was the Athletic's Carl Anker talking about a potential return of fans to professional football. This news follows a report that the government has plans in place to allow a small number of fans back into grounds in December. Fans of clubs in the top 6 divisions of English football haven't been able to attend matches since early March due to COVID-19, but with reports the Premier League could lose £1 billion, this latest news has been welcomed. While Anker is uneasy about the footfall, he does understand the financial benefits this could have.
I can understand the financial implications that allowing fans back in would happen. So you have to remember that for a good chunk of 2020, League One and League Two didn't exist. They were essentially suspended. And some form of a bailout needed to be handed out, whether or not that's from the Premier League or by the FA, in order to help some football clubs continue their existence.
Many fans have called to the Premier League to bail out lower divisions. And while top flight clubs are not in as much danger as their lower league counterparts, Anker has reminded us of how England's elite are also suffering from the loss of fans.
A lot of football clubs are pleading poverty in the Premier League, right? A lot of football clubs are saying they're not. I think a lot of football clubs are not as rich as they used to be. I think every football club is not as rich as what they used to be. So the average home game in the Premier League, you can bring in around about £2 million. So you have to bear in mind, none of these teams have been playing home games since, I want to say March 7th. March 7th was the last round of Premier League fixtures in front of fans, right? And I don't care if you're the biggest football club in the Premier League or you know, the newly promoted West Bromwich Albion. If you're not bringing in 2 million every single week, that's going to affect your bottom line eventually.
Finances are not the only reason for fans to return, though. For many fans of smaller teams, their clubs act as the hub of their community, being a place for fans to get together behind a shared cause. And Anchor also stressed how important being able to attend games again will be to these communities.
Now you consider a lot of these football clubs, and you know, the history of football clubs in England and the United Kingdom, you consider a lot of these football clubs are put up in towns and cities where you have a factory where the majority of the workers used to work, a church or mill where sort of community space, and the other community space was the football team. And I think it's in those cities where possibly reopening the football ground would be good.
One of those clubs that are a hub for their community is Eastleigh FC. Plying their trade in the National League, the Spitfires have been hit a lot harder by the loss of fans, and Chairman Kenny Amore believes the sooner they can get fans back, the better.
Look, if all the lockdowns and all the rules and regulations were uniform across the board, I could understand keeping fans away. In that interim period between when people were allowed to travel on an aeroplane and various other things, even as much as things like supermarkets and shopping centres, to me, it made no sense that you could do all those things, but you couldn't come to an outside football match.
However, while the National League are most in need of a return of fans, there has been suggestions that only elite sport could regain supporters, leaving the 5th and 6th division out in the cold. Amore believes this proposal is ridiculous and that all 6 divisions should be treated equally.
It'd be massive. Look, I think one of the things, take away the financial aspect, one of the things that's although on paper, in terms of points and performances, it doesn't look that way, is how flat the football's felt without the fans there. I think National League clubs should be governed in the same way as the Premier League and the EFL. So we've been classified as a league sport, so albeit without necessarily the same money going around in our leagues, the same governance applies to us, the same health and safety regulations apply at our level. So on that basis, I don't see why we would be treated any different.
Thank you for joining me throughout the day. You can keep up to date on our social media at Solent Sports News and on our website, solentjournalism.co.uk. I've been Ronan Tregoning with your Solent Sports headlines. Thank you for watching.